Hello, friends and enemies. This is episode 120 of Nintendo Unleashed, BlizzKick's weekly Nintendo podcast on the internet and off the internet. Only 340 more episodes to go left in our series. I'm here today with Connor. Say hi, Connor.
Hi, Connor.
We're going to be discussing the merits of buying a Super Nintendo Mini Baby Edition. We're going to be talking about the investor meeting Q&A and whether investors should receive fast passes and who else should receive fast passes for Super Nintendo Land. I think that's what it's called. And PUBG 3D. I'm talking about Snake Pass, though, because I got Snake Pass and I started playing Snake Pass. So I'll talk about Think Like a Snake. It's going to be a pretty short. We don't have much to go over this week, but we'll try to make it a very dense, heavy episode for your enjoyment. So, as always, we like to start off by discussing what we've been playing in the past week. Connor, I'll let you kick it off.
Okay, just pass that ball and I'll score it.
Alrighty. Yeah, let's I'll hit you. Well, I'll throw you the ball, and together we'll complete an alley-oop.
Okay. I don't know what sport we're talking about because
Basketball.
you said kick off, so I was like making a soccer.
Oh, okay. And then I switched it to basketball.
And then you're just like, okay, I'll throw you the ball. And I'm like, well, that's a foul. So.
I could do that in football.
Well,
I guess football.
By football, I meant British football.
Okay, British football. Yeah. So rugby. If we're talking about rugby, then I can kick or throw it. So if we're playing, let's play rugby. Anyway, what kind of rugby did you play this week?
I play Love Live because it's a video game that I play every week. And City Skylines. I'm thinking of writing an editorial piece on things I want to see added to that because I think I have like 20 hours now, and I've thought of a number of things that I'd like to see improved on. And from what I can tell, the developers are pretty open to like listening to customer feedback and stuff because they've actually added into the base game stuff from popular mods and such. So I think that would be a fun editorial to write either way. And I think that's it.
No, that's pretty sweet. I have personally, so first I beat Uncharted 2.
Right.
I'm about halfway through 3. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll beat it before I go to Italy, but I'll beat it when I get back.
Wow.
I also started my PS Plus free trial. Got Shadow of Mordor for $4, which is a pretty freaking good deal, I think. Haven't started that download yet. Also downloaded Life is Strange from the PS Plus thingamabob. I've heard mixed things about that one, but I'll give it a shot. So I beat Uncharted 2, and I just bought Snake Pass and Goner for the Switch. Started playing Snake Pass, and I'm enjoying it so far. It was a game where I was sort of following it sort of before it came out, and I was sort of anticipating the Switch release, but it was sort of marred with some technical issues, like some weird rumble stuff. But it was on sale. It was on sale for $12. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. I knew the controls were going to be challenging, but that was, for me, one of the most, if not the most appealing aspect of the game, sort of the control scheme. So I've been enjoying it. What's weird is they patched, do you remember how first for the game, the HD Rumble was like super loud?
Yeah.
So they patched that out, but then they did an update that added leaderboards and like time trials, and it got added back in with that update. Now they're working again to patch it back out. So I just turned off Rumble on a system level because it was very loud, even with the Pro Controller, which is like doesn't have as much of an intense HD Rumble. Like whenever you pick up a coin, it would just be like. So it's good though, and I'm looking forward to trying Goner. I've heard great things about that one. I've heard multiple people compare it to Downwell, which is one of my favorite mobile games ever, and comparisons to sort of Binding of Isaac as well, and kind of Cave Story as well. So hey, it sounds great. Art style looks great. Apparently the music is fantastic. So I haven't played that yet. But yeah, Snake Pass is good, and Uncharted 2 is good, and Uncharted 3 is also good. I'm very much looking forward to playing The Last of Us. Also, I need to buy Tearaway Unfolded soon because I forget if I talked about. I don't think I talked about that demo on here, right? Yeah, because I played that this week as well.
Yeah, I don't think you did.
It's so good. I feel like you had this game on Vita, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And I remember you talking about it and just being like, oh, this looks cute because, I always enjoyed playing Little Big Planet, in store kiosks and stuff. And I remember this was from the same studio. And so I downloaded the demo and I loved it. It was weird because at first I thought, oh, God, am I going to have to control. Well, so I don't know what the differences are between the PS4 version and the Vita version, but in the PS4 version, you start the game with like the PS4 light bar is like how you guide your little messenger. But then eventually you get to start controlling them with the stick. And then at first I thought, okay, this is just a not jumping game. This is like Captain Toad. But then you get that ability as well. So, but I really enjoyed it. It was really cute. I love the music. I love the platforming. Cute little environmental puzzles. And I think it's only $20, so it seems like a great deal. Even if I only get 7 or 8 hours out of it, it just seems like a really charming platformer. So, I'll definitely pick that up soon too.
I don't remember ever starting with being unable to move with the stick, which I mean in the Vita would probably be just tilting the Vita.
Right, or like touch or something, or back.
Yeah, I don't remember that. It has been a while since I played Tearaway from the start, though, so that might be the case. I think for the most part, the only differences are like there's points in the game where you need to use the back touchpad of the Vita, and like a finger comes up through, like rips through the world, and
oh yeah, okay.
You control stuff, or you kind of like move stuff around with that, which isn't possible on PS4.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also stuff like relying on the camera, which unless you have a camera isn't possible.
Right.
Like
well, what's nice, yes,
get...
there's the PlayStation camera. What's also nice, though, I was in game and it said you can also use a phone app, which is kind of cool. So I may try that.
Like you're trying to get to the, trying to deliver a letter to the U, or I think that's what it's called, the U.
Yeah.
And it takes a picture of your face and has your face as the U the entire time.
Very cute. Yeah, because that makes sense because you are the U.
Yeah.
Fun. So I'll definitely pick that game up. Anyway, moving into the Nintendo download for this week, there's some pretty great stuff here, I think. The Breath of the Wild DLC comes out tomorrow. Well, the first half of it, I guess. It's called DLC Pack 1, the Master Trials. What's kind of odd is that you have to buy the expansion pass to get both packs. You can't buy the packs separately. I think for a lot of people, the second pack is probably going to be more substantial because it's going to contain some type of story DLC. I'd say what people are looking forward to most in this first one. So there are some new costumes. That's not a huge deal, but there's going to be a new sort of hard mode, which does a few things, including it adds these new, floating platforms with enemies that are suspended by balloons. So you sort of have to think vertically more frequently. It also makes it, I don't know if it's just for mini bosses or for all enemies, but there's regenerating health on enemies.
I think
now.
It's just mini bosses.
Okay. Yeah, because in that video they only showed it for the Stone Talus.
And they specifically called out mini bosses at the bottom of the screen.
Well, there you go.
And say enemies.
Nice. Additionally, I think it increases the rank of enemies. You see, there's the different colors. So maybe in the starting area it'll be all blue guys instead of red. Additionally, it adds gold, the gold Lionel, which I'm sure that'll be difficult. So the expansion pass is $20. First pack is out tomorrow. And it also adds the Korok masks you can find on 900. I personally think the fun of those things is kind of just stumbling upon them, so I don't think I'll use the mask. But hey, for anyone who wants to go for all 900, more power to you. On Switch eShop, Goner, again, this game was already released on PC and Mac, and it's described as a roguelike action platformer, which is pretty accurate. It is this very unique sort of almost hand-drawn crayon-looking art style, and it's procedural, and supposedly, again, I haven't tried it yet, but supposedly the sound design is fantastic, so check that out. Magical Drop 2, wow, another Neo Geo game. It's a falling object puzzler. On new 3DS eShop, 6180 The Moon. I feel like this was one of those weird games that kind of utilizes both screens, and it's like a platformer where you bounce. I remember seeing this game, I think, on Wii U. So cute little platformer. And Mighty Gunvolt Burst on 3DS. I believe this came out on Switch maybe a couple weeks ago, so now there's a 3DS version as well. And I've heard great things about this one. So if you enjoyed the original Mighty Gunvolt, which was released, I think, at the same time as Azure Striker Gunvolt. Do check this out. And of course, there are some Wii U Virtual Console games because you need those. Those are definitely selling. So, pick of the week, I would probably have to go with Goner. Again, the only reason I don't want to give it to the Zelda DLC just because that's already so. I think we'd like to highlight smaller stuff. Zelda DLC is kind of huge already, so definitely check out Goner. Again, I've heard great things not only from existing reviews of the PC version, but I've heard great first impressions from the Switch version. And it's one of those games where it's not super long, but it's quite hard, so it'll take you a long time to beat. It's only $10. Check that out. Anyway, moving on. So our first piece of news, which I guess the main news itself wasn't surprising, but there were some surprising details of it. So the SNES Classic was announced for all regions. I believe Japan as well. So for them it would be the Super Famicom Classic. And what's most surprising? Well, so it has 21 games, which is less than the NES Mini's 30, but arguably they're better. So I guess it's fine.
I wouldn't say arguably.
Definitely.
Like there's maybe 2 games in here that are like play once for 10 minutes and never play again. Like,
which one? Like Kirby's Dream Course?
What's it called? Super Ghouls and Ghosts, just because.
Oh, yeah. It's super hard.
Yeah, and I think Super Mario Kart, because that's so poorly dated. If you own any other Mario Kart, there's really no reason to play it.
Good point. F-Zero holds up better, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so most of these are exceptional games. It has Secret of Mana, which is like a long game, I think.
Yeah, there's quite a few RPGs.
It has Link to the Past, Super Mario RPG,
Earthbound.
Earthbound. Yeah, Earthbound's great. Super Metroid, Final Fantasy 3. I don't know which one that is. I don't know if that's
6.
Okay. Oh yeah, so that was really good.
Yeah, one of the best ones.
Yeah, that and 7 are generally agreed as the best old school ones anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's $80, which again is more than the 60. Does it come with 2 controllers? I think. The box has 2. The box has 2 controllers, so I think it might come with 2 controllers, and it comes with Star Fox 2. This is the first time this game is being officially released anywhere. I'm as far as I'm aware, it wasn't ever released in Japan.
Yeah, it wasn't.
And so, but this game was done, and there have been sort of playable ROMs of it that people have sort of uncovered and uploaded online. But this is the first official release, which is really cool. A lot of the elements from this game made their way into 64 and Star Fox Zero, including the walker. I believe the walker was from this game, like a little chicken walker that made it into Zero.
Yeah.
And it was cool. People were posting pictures. Like the developers for this game were having like they were celebrating, and that the game was finally getting released all these years later. So for fans of Star Fox, might be a reason to pick this up just for that alone. I mean, obviously you can play the game via other means probably for free, but this is an official release. The other sort of news we've heard here, so we know the cable is a bit longer, not a ton longer, but a bit longer, so it's an improvement. And supposedly, again, this is just Nintendo's word, but apparently it's going to be in more higher supply than the NES Classic. We'll see if that holds true. But that's their promise at the moment. So the thing for me, so at this point, okay, there are a few, I guess if we're talking personal interest, I think I want one, but I haven't really played my NES Classic much, but I still just think it's a really nice collector's item, like a nice thing to have. And I mean, I guess a large part of probably why I played is, most of the games on there they don't hold up, whereas most of the games on here are still, you can still call them incredible games. And the only one of these games I think I've beaten are Kirby Superstar and Super Mario World. I've actually never beaten Link to the Past, never beaten Super Metroid, so that could give me a good opportunity. Preferably, though, I would much rather have these games on Switch in a handheld form. But I'm just like the fact that this thing exists gives me a pessimistic attitude regarding Virtual Console on Switch. We're going to talk a bit more about that later, but I just feel like, hey, we don't know how soon these games are going to come to the Switch. This might be my best bet for now. Star Fox 2. I'm not a huge Star Fox fan, so if I pick it up, that would be a nice bonus, but not necessarily a selling point for me. I do hope it comes with 2 controllers because that would be another nice selling point. Then you don't have to worry about buying a separate thing. And so yeah, there's sort of the repercussions for the Virtual Console. As we're going to talk about a bit later, it sounds like Nintendo, like this is for them. This is a part of Virtual Console. Like they consider this part of that initiative. So it sort of remains to be seen if that's going to take any form on Switch. Obviously, we have the Neo Geo, but that's not really Nintendo sanctioned, I guess you could say. Were you at any point interested in hunting down the NES Classic, or as soon as the stock, the reality of the stock was made clear, did that sort of turn you off, or what was your attitude there?
I never really cared because I think I said on the podcast when this was first announced, or when it was first announced, and I kind of also said it earlier, most of the games on the NES Classic are the kind of thing you play for 10 minutes and then never touch again. And the only games that I think are worth playing consistently on it, I already own on Wii U, or 3DS, or even an original NES. But this one, I think, is a lot better. Not just because of Star Fox 2, because like you, I don't really care about the Star Fox franchise. But like, there's only 2 games here that I think would be like that. Personally, I'm not really a Contra person either. So, but I know that's still popular. And I do own some of these games. Like I own Donkey Kong Country on Wii and Earthbound on Wii U. But I think this one, even though it's more expensive and has less games, is still a much better deal.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely cool that they're sort of doubling down on the RPGs. I think the original Final Fantasy was on the NES, but again, that game is so dated compared to this one. So this is just, I mean, I guess the question for this one is, is the nostalgia... Well, I guess there are going to be a few questions. So one, are consumers going to be turned off from this by how difficult it was to get the original? I would imagine. That was a bit of a fiasco. At the same time, that might motivate people, but surely some people, it'll just make them think, I'm not even going to try. Even if the stock is actually better. And number 2, I don't know if the nostalgia is really as strong for the Super Nintendo. I mean, maybe I'm misreading. I'm sure there's a lot of fans, but it just seems for me like the original NES is such a nostalgia hit that the Super kind of pales in comparison a little bit. Like, what is your perception on that?
I think some of these games have that, like Zelda, Link to the Past, and Mario World definitely do, and probably Super Metroid as well.
Yeah. And I would, to some extent, Final Fantasy as well.
Yeah, but I think it was, I don't know, it kind of seems like the NES and N64 are both more talked about when we're going nostalgia-wise, and even the Game Boy.
Right, which is kind of weird because the Super Nintendo has a better library than all of those, but it somehow gets like left out of the conversation a little bit.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how strong the nostalgia is for Super Nintendo. Like, there certainly is nostalgia because when was Super Nintendo, like 89?
91.
91?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. NES was 88.
Yeah.
So 91, like there were definitely people growing up at that time.
Right, who now have jobs and can spend money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, release date for this, I think, is, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's September or October.
Did they? Oh, no, September 29th.
Okay. Yeah, so I believe that's a similar, I think the NES was in October, so it's a similar sort of time frame there. Makes sense, getting it out early. Pre-orders have sort of been a question mark so far. Maybe I'll get my hand on one, maybe not. Regardless, we'll see if this is as big as the NES. Time will tell. And of course, the question you have to ask yourself is, does this initiative continue? Do we see? Do they put out the N64 Mini? Because once you get into sort of those 3-dimensional graphics, I feel like something changes for people. Like the simplicity is sort of lost, and with that, you lose some of the mass appeal, because I feel like with a lot of those 2D games, even if people haven't played them in 20 years, there's something so simple about the controls. It's easier for family members to pick up. Whereas, as soon as you've got these 3D titles, it's sort of another. You've got a bit more complicated thinking going on. So.
I wonder if they'll do a Game Boy Mini.
I think that would be genius. Just because of the portability. Because like they could release like the tech for that. It could be. It's not even as high tech as the NES Mini, right? I mean, obviously they have to pack it into a smaller space, but like, yeah, if they could launch that for like $60, same price as the NES Mini, I think that thing would kill it. Maybe make it Game Boy Color though, because I'm not sure if people want to play black and white games in 2017.
Oh yeah, maybe brand it as Game Boy,
and just have it in color, yeah.
Color. Or have the option.
Right. Oh, actually, that would be pretty smart, yeah.
Because if you are nostalgic for that green and black screen.
Yeah, you could maybe toggle between like green, color, and like just black and white, no green.
Yeah, can't you do that on the 3DS?
Yeah, 3DS you can go between black and white and green. So they would probably keep that.
So as long as they have the color, then just have it so you can toggle.
Right. Yeah, I feel like that would be a perfect I feel like that would be such a smarter product than an N64 Mini, because if you look at the 3DS, I think a big part of the appeal of that is it's very sort of toyish and cute, and it's cheap, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like this would hit a very similar spot, especially if they do different colors of it. God. I mean, I feel like that original design is so iconic, but if they were to take it in that direction, I feel like there could be huge potential there, especially if it's cheap. Like, what better stocking stuffer is there? I mean, of course, kids have these games on their phones, but let's say you've got, a 7-year-old kid who you're not ready to get a phone yet, but they want to be able to play games on the go. Lots of, $60 seems like a reasonable purchase. And you could put, okay, now there's a big question. Okay, we're getting very hypothetical here. We don't have much to talk about, so it's fine. The big question with the Game Boy Mini, Pokemon?
Yeah.
You need to have Pokemon.
But with Pokemon Company being Pokemon Company,
that's where things get kind of. Yeah, so I feel like that product can't happen without the Pokemon Company's cooperation. I guess it. I don't know. Like that would be just something we would kind of have to wait and see on. Additionally, with Pokemon, you would sort of hope that there would be wireless connectivity then, or even they could bring back the link cable. Honestly, like that would be.
I think if people aren't willing to play in black and white in 2017, that's kind of going to be a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
Using a cable.
Yeah, so, if you've got Pokemon in there with wireless trading, then, that's a little bit of added cost. Might bump it up to 80. But even still, if they can get Pokemon, Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal on there, and, Red and Blue as well for the Gen 1 fans, and having wireless play, man, that would be huge. And having that alongside, like Mario Land, which admittedly the original isn't great, but you've got, Mario Land 2, Kirby, Dr. Mario. Dr. Mario's on there, right?
I think so.
No, obviously Tetris is another one, and there might be. I remember it was weird because the Game Boy version of Tetris got removed from the 3DS eShop Virtual Console, so maybe there would be some difficulties there because I think I think it's either Ubisoft or EA now who has like the rights to that, so that could get fuzzy.
I think Ubisoft has console rights and EA has mobile rights.
Oh, that's so weird. All right.
So maybe because it's not either
right.
Technically, then they could use it on the Game Boy Mini or Classic or whatever it's called. Yeah,
so there would definitely be some like weird licensing issues, but then again, for the NES, they did manage to get third parties on board. They got stuff from Capcom, Konami, so who knows? They could potentially work something out. So yeah, definitely. I mean, for me, that would just kind of be a no-brainer, and that would be something I would totally get for a little cousin or something for Christmas. Oh man. If that launched around the time of like Pokemon Go, that would be perfect. Anyway, so yeah, that's the I don't even know what to call it. The Super Nintendo and the SNES Classic, SNES Classic, sure. The names are getting kind of complicated.
I can't wait for the new Nintendo, Super Nintendo 64. classic.
Well, eventually we're gonna get the new Oh my god, the Nintendo 3DS Classic, new Nintendo 2DS XL Classic Edition, or some crazy garbage like that, like 30 years from now. Those naming conventions are gonna come back and bite them in the butt. Anyway, moving on. So the Nintendo, I don't know if it was annual or quarterly, annual general meeting with shareholders was held, and we have a fan translation of the Q&A. There are definitely some, I think we might have brought some up earlier in the show, I forget.
We kind of made reference, but didn't really say where they were from.
So there were some, I think we're mainly just going to go through some of the more amusing ones.
Yeah, because like most of the non-amusing ones are just kind of boring, and the only answers are just generic PR speak.
Connor, if you have this open, I'll let you kind of.
Yeah, I do. So the first question, I think this one is pretty great. Is I feel Japanese Prime Minister Abe appearing at the Rio Olympics closing ceremony with a Mario costume affects Mario's image negatively. Why did he appear? And then Kimishima responds saying it wasn't just Mario. There was a lot of Japanese cultural stuff there. And he never really asked it, but I'm wondering how that's negatively affected Mario's image. Like, it's not like Mario was like up there doing drugs or something.
Yeah.
He was just came out of a warp pipe. That's what he does.
That's Mario for you. And it's funny. I'm sorry. I'm seeing this image of Mario's glove officially being stained on Twitter. So yeah, I guess like for people who have like maybe strong like political leanings who are against him, but like I don't know, it just kind of seems like an irrelevant thing to ask about. And Kimishima was right. He said like, oh, the reception has been very positive. And yeah, I mean, I remember seeing around and, didn't Nintendo's shares go up or something? Like people were amazed to see Mario in this Olympic promotion. Like that was a big deal.
Yeah.
So, hey, funny question number one. And certainly there's more where that came from.
So another question. Hold on, I lost it here. Here we go. So you know how we spent years basically of shareholders constantly begging Nintendo to make mobile games, right?
Oh, yeah.
So this question, iPhone is 10 years old now. There are limits to enjoying games on touchpads. And I think that might be there's a little bit here, but also no new games recently like Wii Sports that fit. So I think that was just an awkward translation more than this person legit spoke like that. But why? Like they seem to be selling fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean they talked about how they're going to have different models for different series going forward, and they've talked about how despite Fire Emblem Heroes being downloaded many less times than Mario, I think they said it's doing more revenue.
Yeah, and they also mentioned that Mario's been downloaded in over 200 countries, including ones where it's not officially available.
Yeah. So clearly, big impact there. So even if Super Mario Run, some of the pieces didn't really fall into place there.
They still consider it a success. They said 10% of downloads purchased it, and Kimishima considers that a success.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can consider how many downloaded, and each one's $10. I guess that's not too bad. It just seemed like there was such an outcry from casual players. Oh, $10. Maybe that was blown out of proportion a little bit at the time. Anyway, so yeah, clearly they're learning lessons from their current ventures, and now they're like, oh well, we sure mobile's the best idea. Yes, it's very funny to see that. Also, in regards to what he said about Wii Sports, I feel like 1-2 Switch just came out. It's basically very similar. I don't even. Regardless, it's another interesting question. Shareholders never fail to puzzle us. And they also want them to release games for the the PC. So that's
yeah, I kind of skipped that one because the guy just kind of said PC has a pretty dedicated market too, and then their response was all like, "Yeah, we know."
And then they kind of did a humble brag. They were like, "People lined up at the Nintendo booth since the early
yeah." Yeah, Miyamoto was all like, I was at the Ubisoft showcase, and I got a lot of uh, promotion and looking around at stuff. I didn't see very much PC spotlight.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's because Sony and Microsoft want the consoles being shown off mostly.
And then they asked about the things people have already asked millions of times in terms of the relationship between the Switch and the 3DS. We heard the same thing. They can be enjoyed in different ways. So
There was also another question that's not really funny, but I just want to bring it up because it actually does give new information, kind of. Someone asked regarding product videos, are there any plans to bring back past content like the Kirby anime on Blu-ray or old games on DD? I'm not sure what DD stands for console/mobile.
maybe digital download.
Yeah, maybe. So both Kimishima and Miyamoto answered this. Kimishima basically, gave the generic thing of we'll look into this, or we're looking into this. If the market determines it's right, then they'll, generic PR stuff. But Miyamoto says, we hold the Kirby IP. I'm assuming he means specifically about the anime, not in general, because I don't think anyone here expected them not to have it. And it's growing in Europe. It's selling in Spain, watched in places without the game hardware. We also want to make anime for Pikmin, Star Fox, Yoshi, etc., and distribute it freely or integrate it into games.
Yeah, so you kind of just dropped that. Now,
yeah, I'm kind of curious what they mean by this, though, because Star Fox got an anime recently with Zero,
right?
And Pikmin got the shorts, which, I mean, they aren't the traditional anime style, but
they are cartoon.
They're animation produced in Japan. That's what people try arguing whenever they argue the definition. That's the most popular one brought up. So technically they are anime. But I'm curious if he means like TV anime, like running 13 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the vibe I get, but at the same time he says, oh, we can put it in games, and that's what worries me, because then it's like, oh, is it like those things in the Kirby and Yoshi's Woolly World where it's like just a bunch of 1-minute animations?
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see. Personally,
It'd be interesting if they kind of do both, because like right now, none of the major platforms are getting consistent anime, like games getting anime for the most part. Video games that get anime are stuff like Tales, or I think Final Fantasy 15 got like a promotional anime, Persona 5 got a promotional anime, but like the TV anime stuff is just like Tales games. Danganronpa 3 got one not too long ago. So like Sony's not real. I think Parappa's having an anniversary anime right now, but like there's no Crash Bandicoot anime or Ratchet and
Clank.
Mighty Number 9.
There's gonna be one, but
garbage.
Yeah, and I think we've seen that some of those series we already know lend themselves well to that animations concept. We've seen Pikmin, we've seen Star Fox, Kid Icarus. He didn't mention, but that was something we saw as well. And Nintendo sort of talked in the past as well about sort of like potentially, well, not potentially, but I think definitely entering like the movie space. And so could this tie in with that somehow? Maybe do something with movie, something with TV, Cartoon Network. Who knows? So definitely an interesting comment, though. Has a lot of people talking.
And the only other funny thing, I guess, or question from this is okay, actually there's two more. One, any chances shareholders can get advance tickets or fast passes at Super Nintendo World, which is what we were referencing earlier. And I think that Nintendo podcast hosts should also get advance tickets or fast passes. And Kimishima says, we give to our shareholders through dividends. Shareholders want rewards in different ways. We'll look into it.
Very nice.
And the final question. Nintendo holds Nintendo holds shareholder meetings on days other companies do. Makes it hard to attend others. Can you change the dates? Then Kimishima. Revision in law makes this possible. We'll look into it next year. So, apparently in Japan it used to be illegal to change your shareholder meeting dates. Actually, I skipped a funny one too. This one's not so funny in the question itself, but more that this guy like touches on a ton of points before finally getting to his question. So Mario will be at Tokyo Olympics. Nintendo characters are part of Japanese culture. It's too bad classic NES was discontinued. There are third-party games whose download sales were ended. Will Nintendo stop selling certain games digitally?
So he started with Mario at Tokyo and ended up with, you guys going to stop selling games? I'm sure there could just be some maybe kind of translation error there, but even with that in mind, it just seems like, whoa, what's your point?
Well, we got two answers, one from Yamamoto and one from Tanaka, and both of them only address the will Nintendo stop selling certain games digitally part. So
there you go. What did they say? They said
Yamamoto said, I can't comment on specific cases without info material, but certain game licenses lapsed, old hardware like Wii went offline, etc. And Tanaka said, game makers decide for themselves when to stop selling games, some taken down due to lack of revenue. Please ask each company.
Yeah, so they were basically just like, shut up. Because I don't really get how that's relevant to their current business at all. That doesn't.
I don't really get why this guy touched on like 5 points before getting this question.
Anyway.
And like none of the others were questions. He's just stating things. Mario will be at the Tokyo Olympics. Okay. Thanks.
So yeah, Kimishima is mad. Very useful Q&A right there.
I wonder if this guy's actually a foreigner and doesn't know Japanese very well. So he meant all those to be questions, but screwed it up.
Sounded like he's just telling Kimishima what's up.
Wow, thanks, random shareholder, for keeping us informed on things we know. So yeah, that's it, I think, for the shareholder meeting.
Yep. Anyway, poll time. Definitely a short week. Well, first, did we get? I always never remember what last week's poll was. We asked.
Last week's poll was: will either Metroid Prime 4 or Pokemon Switch release in 2018? We got 16 votes, and the winner, Twitter says, was a tie, but separates them by a percent. So so with 38%, Pokemon will, Metroid Prime 4 won't, and with 37%, neither will. But Twitter declared them both winners, so I don't know. Maybe rounding weirdness, like I don't know how Twitter rounds it, but maybe if it was actually like 37.4% and 37.6%, that's basically a tie, but they were rounded off weirdly. But anyway, 0% of people think Metroid Prime 4 will release first, and 25% think both will release in 2018. So that's 4 people.
Nice. You 4? We hope you're right.
You 4 probably should get a reality check. Maybe those 4 were all Nintendo employees, and
Would they know?
They were just leaking.
They're leaking, or they could be trying to throw us off. But you'd think if they were trying to throw us off, they would make us think it was releasing later and lower our expectations and then surprise us by releasing it in 2018. But whatever. Anyway, this week's poll is: are you buying a Super Nintendo NES? I'm going to call it an SNES Classic, just for Star Fox 2. And so we either have yes, would have bought one anyway, so I guess regardless of Star Fox 2, or no. So yeah, have at it, folks. How many Star Fox fans out there?
Actually, that no should probably be like not buying one or something, because the question is, are you buying a SNES for Star Fox 2? So if you would have bought one anyway, you're technically a no.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, that should be not buying one.
Modify that a bit. But regardless. Sorry, I'm groaning because I'm looking at this Notch tweet. Just pluggy plugs, the thing I do not know how to pronounce.
Yeah, Tsukigakure. For some reason, the name, they decided not to put any spaces in the original or in the official English name, and also didn't just use the English name, which is on the logo as the moon so beautiful, although that is a garbage name, and it should have just been translated as the moon is beautiful, but whatever. That review, the show hasn't aired yet because it's been delayed in subs, so I have no idea when the review will go up, but it will go up probably before this episode is out, hopefully. Also, listen to us talk about Nintendo on VidMe and on YouTube. And if you want just audio versions, then iTunes and Google Play is where you should go. Follow us on Twitter. I'm Double31.
I'm Dashy007.
Arms is Arms MXZ. Blaze Kick's Blaze Kick Tweet. Next week, Arms will be back because we couldn't find any time for both Arms and Noah this week, and Noah's about to go away for 10 days.
That's right, Italy boys, bringing that Rosalie and Amiibo again.
So we decided to just make it so, since Noah for sure can't be on next week, might as well just have Noah this week, Arms next week, and hopefully they can both be back the week after.
Yay! Yay!
Sorry, I was just trying to do quick math there to figure out if you will, in fact, be back.
I don't think so.
For the week after. Yeah, you should. You said it's 10 days, right?
Yeah, I'll be back next episode. Next episode.
122. You'll be back. Okay. Well, we don't know if you'll be on, but you will be back in the United States.
That's right.
And with that incredibly awkwardness out of the way, visit blazekick.com for anime reviews and maybe more. I don't know. And
definitely more.
Oh, definitely. And see you guys next week.
Bye.